Welcome back to HealthWise. With us is Dr. Augusta LaFleur from Opelousas General Emergency Center. Doc, we were talking about some of the different things that happen in the emergency room, which is a lot. But it's summertime, and I would think you'd see a lot of heat stroke and stuff.
We are starting to see the heat illnesses come in. You know, it doesn't have to be that hot out to be affected by the heat. Especially certain people are at increased risk. The elderly, the very young, extremes of age, people who can't maybe ask for themselves that, hey, I'm too hot, I'm thirsty, those kind of things. You have to be a little more careful. It doesn't have to be 110 degrees outside. If you're outside, you're getting hot no matter what. It's hot, it's humid, it's Louisiana. So it's warm enough now that we're really starting to see these patients come in. And a lot of times heat illness kind of sneaks up on people. They'll be outside at the ballpark is a good example for a long time and feel kind of cruddy, tired, run down, but they've been playing ball or they've been out all day, it made sense. And then the next day they go out again and then they start getting sick. And it kind of doesn't occur to them, it seems a lot of times, that this is heat illness. And they come in often with muscle cramps, nausea, headache, fatigued, feeling generally cruddy. You know, we really start to worry when people start to get confused, start to not make sense, become weak. People can even pass out. And that just indicates a little bit worsening disease of heat exposure. And one thing I like to remind people is that heat exposure is cumulative. If you get a little bit of heat stroke or heat illness, like we call it, one day and then you go in the heat the next day, you're going to be less able to tolerate that much heat. So you have to be a little careful. Once it gets you, you need to stay out of the heat for a few days.
Wow. That's good to know, because I think most people thought that, or in the audience, I'm sure, thought that it's right then, you know, heat stroke is right then when you happen to be out there. So I didn't even, you know, I mean, I knew it could be cumulative, but we tend to forget that, you know. Yeah. And so that's good to know that, you know, the more you stay out of in it, the less likely. Do you see a lot of instances, what I would say, like fishermen, you know?
You know, I haven't. Now that you say it, I haven't seen that many fishermen come in, but I have seen a lot of people who work outside in the heat or who work in, say, a kitchen. It's a hot environment already, but now it's really hot outside. So you can leave the doors open, you can leave the windows open, it's still not going to cool down because it's so hot outside. Right. So anywhere it's normally hot, now it's just going to be hotter. So, and when you're stuck there, especially for work or for, again, long hours at the ballpark, I know everyone's kind of doing that right now, it's a, I guess, high-risk environment to be exposed to heat more than you normally would. Okay,
and once again, it's summer, people like to sunbathe. That's, you know, I mean, that.
People do, and I understand that. Nothing feels better than laying in the sun. But it is just astoundingly bad for you. Not from a heat stroke sense, but for your skin. You know, the sun damage that happens to people in their teens is the skin cancer that we see when they're 30, 40, 50. So we really encourage people to slather on the sunblock, especially if you're going to be outside. Right. You're going to be outside having fun, sweating, getting wet. Reapply your sunscreen, reapply your sunscreen. The damage you do now is really bad later. Right.
A lot of people think, and I'd like you to answer that too, that if they're in water, they can't get heat. They can't get burned. Heat stroke, heat stroke or anything, right?
You absolutely can. You know, hot is hot. So it's, if you can cool down by getting in the water and then you get out and it evaporates, you know, it cools your body down. But when it's hot, and it's humid here, so it's a little harder to get rid of that heat.
Right. What are some of the things you would do as an emergency room physician if you get someone that comes in with heat stroke?
typically we cool people down, you know, put them in a cooler environment, take any heavy clothing or anything off, get them as cool as we can. We put fans on them and IV fluids. Fluid replacement is really the key. It doesn't have to be with an IV, as long as the person can drink Gatorade, Powerade, those kind of things. Plain old water doesn't quite cut it, but Gatorade, Powerade, something with salts in it, is really what people need to cool down and rehydrate.
Okay, what if, let's say they were critical? Let's say someone comes in, acute dehydration. What would you do then?
Well, of course we do labs, you know. We look, because if this gets bad enough, it can cause muscle breakdown, which affects your kidneys, renal failure. It can cause a lot of problems. A shift in electrolytes, which can cause seizures and cardiac problems, all sorts of issues. So of course we check lab work, but the big thing is we treat it. We cool them down, we rehydrate them. We cool them down by putting ice cooling blankets, anything we can do to cool them down is the key.
Well, that's good to know as far as heat stroke, you know, because that's a big thing, and I think it looks like every summer it's hotter and hotter.
It feels like
just
it.
You know, I mean, it just seems like we're not having any more mild summers, and our winters are shorter. It seems like there are no cold, really cold days for the winter. As far as that goes, Opelousas General, I don't want to, you know, I can't say enough. State of the art, gives you all what you need as far as basically the lab work and everything.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
So
we can take care of this, not a problem.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Doc, we're going to take a quick break for our meet with our sponsors and pay some bills, and then we're going to come back and talk about a few other emergency room things that you have to deal with on a daily basis.